who has always never been shy to speak her mind. We're talking about Orie Rogo Manduli. Well, she recently had something to say about young women. And not all young women, but she said mostly young people today, especially socialites, are being glorified. We're celebrating women that have become, I quote, these are not my words, mistresses of powerful people or mistresses of politicians. I think she's right.
She has got another word as well. Glorified prostitutes. That's what she believes they are. Here's the thing. Without high-end prostitutes, without picking any specific people, she knows who she was referring to. She has a specific problem with Vera Siddiqa. But for me, I think it's not that they are the problem per se. It's that us, society in general, is entertaining it. There was a time when there was morals and values, and there was a certain way we all held ourselves with a certain regard. And the minute we started entertaining anything lesser than that, we okayed a certain kind of lifestyle. So I don't particularly feel like it's these people who are necessarily bad, but I think it's their reflection of what society is right now.
But the reality is, for generations, for centuries, these particular women, this bracket of women has always existed.
Yes.
The thing about, I think, what bothers her the most is that women that should be celebrated, all right? You know, she's done great things herself. There's women that have done great things, but they'll never get that recognition. You see, we can't brush away how people make their money. If you want to lie on your back all day, I mean, that's your thing. But I think she's really bothered by the amount of attention they receive, the role that media has played, again, glorifying people that do not deserve that much recognition. But then on the same accord, we're the same people who tell our daughters to work hard. You know, you'll get a good man, you'll be this, you know, society wants you like this. However, the women that are actually doing that and doing great things are not being recognized and they're not being spoken of.
Yes.
So that rubs her off the wrong way. And she's like, who are the role models of our young women today? And she posed that question, and a lot of people could not quite answer that.
Let me try and answer her then. Maybe I'm feeling a little riled up by this, yeah? Because first of all, personally, I believe that anyone in the baby boomer generation has absolutely no right to tell people of this generation, of a younger generation, how to live. Frankly, they've ruined the economy, they've ruined the environment, and we are trying to find our own way. And just because it's from an unfamiliar place doesn't mean that she can judge a woman how she goes. First of all, I'm all here for the support and safety of sex workers, flat out, point blank. If that's how you choose to make your money, I hope you do it in a safe way. I wish you all the support in the world. And women, especially because of sexism and everything that's going on, have a harder time making money than men. So they have to make their own way, and if this is the way that young women are going to do it, I'm all for it. You know, get your recognition and make your business.
I'll tell you this, Dana. African society will still not publicly embrace some of your views. However, as the old guard, we have to also understand the generation that she's from. She's saying, and I'm also kind of reaffirming that prostitution, or whatever we want to call it, this has been there for the longest time.
Oldest profession.
But what she's bothered by is we're not really encouraging women to work as hard as they grew up being told. You know, this is the way to do things. This is the moral standing. This is what it is. I'd be surprised if she said the opposite for a woman of her stature, a woman of her age, a woman who has worked very hard to be where she is. I think she makes a valid point. We're always going to have people with disagreeing views on things. But for her to stand up and say something about it, and the fact that she's even, you know, recognizing these people and these names and saying, I know this person, but I feel, what have you really done? What's your life about? We're misleading our children. That's a fact. Because that also has an expiry date. But let me tell you what doesn't have an expiry date. Having something that you can do for your own, and something that you're defined by, and something that you can fall back on. These things change. It's a temporary way of living and earning a living. For her to call it out, I think that's a good thing. And she called it out like one of the women in society that we've seen, you know, step forward, and she can show you from her life what she's done for herself. And you know what? It's good to say, There are many other ways. That's not the only way. That's not the only way.
That's my
You could do what you want to do, but that's not the only way. And why are we glorifying these women?
For me,
as you glorify them, let's talk about the rally drivers. Let's talk about the nurses. Let's talk about the people who tirelessly work. The women that are sitting out on the streets, the mamambogas, okay, in the rain. She probably doesn't even know what she's going to do. Those are the women that we want to talk about. We've had inspirational women come to this show. And that doesn't necessarily mean they have to lie on their backs.
For me, like, my rule of live and let live has one huge boundary. If I would not be okay for my daughter to do it, then I can't condone it. Because, you know, if I can excuse a lot of things in my generation, oh, girl, get yours, get your money. But then when I think, would I be okay with my daughter doing this? I'm not here to judge anyone who's doing it, but if I wouldn't be, then I can see how it must irk her, because she spoke about her daughter. She said, my daughters are very voluptuous, but they don't need to put it out to everybody else to see. So for her, maybe she doesn't want it for her daughters. That's why she's so adamant that she wouldn't want it. Do you get my point?
I
so
understand
for
that.
me, even me, that's the point.
I guess what I'm curious about is those two women that show up, Vera and Huda, do they not own their own businesses? Do they not? Because as far as I'm concerned, they do, and they make their money some other way.
Is that means to an end thing? Is there like a...
It is a means to an end, because as far as I'm concerned, you have to go through something in your life to get to the point. Everyone has low points, and everyone has to use the tools they've been given to some advantage.
I like the way you said the tools they've been given. But I like the coolest thing about this table. The coolest thing about this table is there are days where we may never come to a concrete conclusion and agree.
We could talk
but
about
one
this
thing
for
I can confirm is you have sort of put a stamp on what she was saying. There's people who are like, what is wrong with that? And then that leads to another socialite. There's another new one. Recently, we saw another lady saying, listen, I'm fighting for Diamond's attention after everything we've seen. You see, it's become such an easy way to seek relevance. And it's good to dig deeper and be your own person and not rely on certain things. I think we cannot go to every doorstep and talk to every girl and say, this is not, you don't want to be moral police, right? But we need to give credit where it's due to the women that are actually doing things with themselves and living their lives, earning an honest living. That Instagram living, fake life, booty showing is not the only way. That's her point.
I completely...
Let me sip my tea and,
Yes.
and keep all my opinions to myself.
Yes, and for as far as having the balance, if we did have a balance, maybe she wouldn't be as outraged. I get you. I get that
No,
point.
it's getting crazy. It's
I
getting
definitely
crazier.